Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Nurturing Our Roots. We're very excited to be here this afternoon to talk with you about our family history. And I would like to welcome my co host, Karen Royal, and not only my co host, but my cousin as well. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Antoinette. Happy New
Hi-
Year.
Same to you, and Happy New Year to you all, too. We have a very exciting uh, presentation tonight, someone who I met years ago, but I'm going to let Karen do you the honors of introducing our very special guest. Take it, Karen.
All righty. Well, I'd like to welcome Alvin Blakes. Welcome, Alvin.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Antoinette.
Hi.
Alvin is a lifelong organizer and community worker who has been researching African American history since he was a teenager and has traveled to Africa, Europe, the Caribbean, and all over the United States to pursue his studies. He has researched his family's history from Woodville, Mississippi, back to the late 1700s in the eastern United States. He is a member of the Dallas Genealogical Society's African American Genealogy Interest Group. He graduated with a bachelor's and master's of mechanical engineering degree from Howard University School of Engineering. He is the former manager of the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Agency Bus Fleet Engineering Group. Also, a little bit about Alvin is Almost Disappeared, which is a blog, Unearthing My Family History, a blog that will primarily share the genealogical resources that he's found over the last 20 years while tracing his family history. All the branches of his family were uprooted from Africa to the United States, converged in one place, Woodville, Wilkinson County, Mississippi. These families were then scattered throughout Louisiana, and with the onset of the Civil War, ran away or migrated to Chicago and other places. Alvin, Woodville, Mississippi is a place that keeps rearing its head in research. So I'm so glad to meet you and to know about your interests and deep roots in Woodville. Welcome again.
Well, thank you. I guess it's my second time being on the show. I was on, I don't know, before COVID, I think it was. So thank you again.
You're welcome.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and get started, Antoinette? Or do you want to preface with some other things? You're on mute. Antoinette, you're on
You're on
mute.
mute.
Sorry, you can go ahead and start sharing your presentation.
Okay, so I'll share the presentation I have prepared. And let's see, I guess a brief. Let's see, okay. So it's a little bit different than it's done the last few times. Are you have me shared, Antoinette?
Yes, no. I
Maybe-
think you can share. Go ahead and share
Let
it.
me try it again.
That's always like tech problems, how when you're doing something, you practice 1,000 times.
We practiced it 5 times and
Yes.
not hitting the window, and it's not uh, bringing up the documents. Wow, that is incredible. So let me see why it is not bringing up
And
my.
while you're doing that, Alvin, what we'll
Sure.
be talking about is, and you just let us know when you're ready, okay?
Yeah.
Uh, we
Mm,
want to talk about the importance of preserving these family funeral programs, Karen. We have discussed this so many times, but I just want to share something with you. While Alvin, go ahead and try to um, get everything together. Let's go ahead and we can play this. Okay.
Let Stanton's help you create a kitchen that is the heart of your home.
Amazing.
Why Stanton's? Selection,
Amazing.
savings, Gen Air, know-how, Whirlpool, big in-store inventories, Maytag, service, KitchenAid, locally owned. Stanton's Appliance.
For decades and longer in Louisiana, everything, including funeral homes, segregated. For Black people, those spaces hold stories that would remain unknown if it wasn't for the people documented in the records of funeral programs. In Tangible Hope Parish, there's an entire community established by just one man that's now being remembered thanks to those programs.
In the town of Amite, a family-owned funeral home has served the Black community for generations, storing decades of information in the process.
And one day I just sit down and start looking at them and I said, oh, look at the history. I didn't know about the Amite Colored School. The Black experience in the Florida parishes have been undocumented.
Dr. Antoinette Harrell is a local historian and cousin to the owners. She's done some of her work here, discovering a treasure trove of history, even connecting to well-known people like Collis Temple, the first Black basketball player at LSU.
I'm looking at Shirley Lee Cross obituary, Temple. She served George Washington Carver at Tuskegee University. Now, who would have known that if it was not for these funeral programs?
The firsthand information she found goes even beyond the 20th century to Choctaw Indians who lived in the Louisiana, Florida parishes.
Melinda Lawson, Mississippi Choctaw, full name Melinda Tom. So it gave her an Indian name, Tom, and she lists her father's name as Indian Tom. And he's a full-blooded Choctaw. Now, this document is so important to the Choctaw history right here in Amite, Louisiana.
With so much history, there's one story that's little known, but very important for much of the community in Amite.
Some of these communities sort of remind me of Rosewood, like the Vernon family history, Free Bob's family history. Free Bob was a former slave, and he purchased his freedom.
Born in 1832, not only did Robert Vernon, also known as Free Bob, purchase his freedom, but he also purchased nearly 3,000 acres of land.
I am the great-great-granddaughter of Free Bob.
On that land, he built a small Black community, complete with a church, cemetery, and school, collectively called Vernon Town. And that land is still in the Vernon family today, leaving more than 100 acres to each of his 17 children.
If he couldn't read and write, and he wanted us to know the values of life through education, we grabbed a hold of that, and we still holding on to it, and we're going to pass it down to each generation.
5 generations later, after Bob's death in 1915, the Vernon family is passing down his legacy through their work.
I was the first African-American in the city of Amite to be elected to the city council. I served 3 terms.
Although the story of Vernon Town is not new, there are many who have never heard of it. But Gordon says that's changing.
I think that door is just beginning to crack open. Okay. I think so far as the white population, they have known it in the past, but it takes the members of Free Bob family to bring it to existence, to bring it up to the surface, and that's what we're doing. And they can't deny it.
Okay.
Dr. Harrell has been working with South.
I just want to give you all an overview of how important those funeral programs can be. Are you ready, Alvin? Was you able to get it?
I don't know. You share the screen with me and let's try one more time. Is it shared?
Okay. You have permission to share.
I didn't do anything different than we practiced. But when I go now and click on window, nothing's in the window. Let's see, why would that be?
Yeah, because it can't be on my end. I don't have if you
with you
maybe
tried it a few seconds ago. How about now? Can you see it?
let's see. No, I'm gonna go and no, I don't see it at all. on my desktop. What I can do, if you all can just talk about what you want to do and give me a moment to pull it in on my end to see if I can do that. All right.
PowerPoint, yes. Okay.
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 I tried it just, I'm so sorry. I tried it.
All right, Elvis. While Antoinette's pulling that up, what will you be showing us in your presentation?
Well, what I'll be showing you is the work that we did here in Dallas. And this is the African American Genealogy Interest Group here in Dallas. We're part of the Dallas Genealogical Society, and we work out of the Dallas Public Library. We meet, the group meets the third Saturday of every month. And we had a project that started in 2007. One of our members, which I'll be showing you in the presentation, was able to acquire. He heard that a funeral home here was closing, so he went to the funeral home owner and inquired about what was going to happen to the records. He went to the new owner and asked him what is going to happen to those records, and the new owners really had no plans for the record. He was probably going to throw them out. And so what ended up happening was he ended up giving him the records. He went over to the Dallas Public Library and signed a contract for them to archive the records. And then we launched it as a project and I'll go through the steps it takes to get the records ready for digitization, to record and to sort the records, to catalog them, and they have a digital copy of the records online for the public. So that was our project. We started in 2007. It took 13 years. We didn't finish until 2020. And I'll go into a little bit about how intricate that process is for doing that.
Alvin, did I have the right information pulled up just now?
I'm not seeing it because I'm in the I'm in the blind right now, and I don't know what's.
I didn't see what came up.
So do you have it? Were you able to get it, Antoinette?
Yes, give me a minute.
Okay. Okay. It says screen sharing is canceled, so you have it now. I don't know. We tried it just a minute before we came on, and it worked. So
worked perfectly.
That is just amazing.
That's how things happen.
Oh my. Mm.
Okay. Here we go.
Oh. Okay, that's my article, Antoinette. There's a PowerPoint I sent with it.
Okay, let me just.
I sent that first, and then I sent some other documents, the PowerPoint with it.
Okay, so what you're seeing right now is not what you need?
No, it's not. That's the article that I wrote.
Okay.
I sent you a second PowerPoint.
Okay, I'll go back and look. Go ahead and keep talking, please.
Yes. And so, Karen, as we go through this, the thing that's important for people to understand is that the funeral home records, and I think I'll be showing evidence to show how important funeral home records can be. And this program is very timely because all over the country, funeral homes are closing. The records are being thrown away. Some funeral homes, when you go to them and you want records on your ancestors, they'll actually give you the records. But some funeral homes will not. But as they close, these materials are in jeopardy of being thrown away because the new funeral, a lot of them are paper. A lot of them go back a lot of years. And the funeral home, as they close, these records will be destroyed.
And even more so now, I'm seeing people are not publishing obituaries in the newspaper like they used to.
That's right. That's right. Because it's so expensive. Yeah.
The funeral programs, they have some information on the website, but that's only up there for a certain amount of time. So those paper records are very important.
Yes. Okay.
So what I need you to do is just tell me, because I'm trying to operate it for you here. You just tell me when to move the cursor and when you want me to move it, okay?
Okay, great. Mm-hmm. I'm glad I sent it to you, so we have a backup. So next slide. Yes.
Next slide. Okay. Moving right along, everybody.
So this is a picture. This is a picture of Alto McGowan. He's the owner and operator. He and his wife were the owner and operator of the McGowan Funeral Home from 1955 till about 1996, I believe it was. And so he was born in 1904 in St. Augustine, Texas. Moved to Dallas as a young man and started this very lucrative funeral home business. And it's right on Irving Street near downtown Dallas. Currently, that whole funeral home collection, after we finish organizing it, is owned by the Dallas Public Library. And the collection is available for the public to go in and look at all of those records that are in the funeral home. So I'll tell you later about what's in those what's in some of those records. So on the next slide.
Did you hit the last bullet point, please? Could you go over that for me?
Yes, the collection contains clients' deceased files, which may include obituaries, photographs, funeral pamphlets, death certificates, and related materials. And so, Antoinette, what's happening is that as people go to the funeral home, especially back some time ago, they had to have proof of who that person was they were burying, age, anything they could give the funeral home director to create a obituary. This funeral home put together an obituary for each burial. And so all the information they got for him, he put that in the obituary. And what happened was, over time, sometimes they would not come back and get that document or that, that medal, or that it could be a newspaper article. It could be insurance papers. A number of items were left with the funeral home director. And so we were just, astounded that all that stuff was in the each folder.
Wow. Each folder belonging to that deceased person.
Yes. Each folder had, on that deceased person had a obituary and any other documents. Most of them had the insurance, proof of insurance. It could be a check, an old check that nobody cashed. It could be their World War I certificate. It could be a medal. It could be a letter. It was a number of things that was just astounding what was in there. Proof that they were a veteran in World War I or World War II. One person was in the Spanish War. So all these documents were left with the funeral home director.
I am so glad that you all really took the time to process this information, because the funeral programs I received from Richardson's Funeral Home in Amite, Louisiana, it was not folders. It was just the funeral home programs itself. Very seldom did I find a handwritten letter or handwritten document with something on it, but I did find photographs. There was photographs in the file. So this is a very rich collection that you all have taken the time and process. Would you like me to go to the second one?
Yes. So Mr. Ariel Kennedy, one of our members in the African American Genealogical Interest Group, wrote an article called the McGowan Project Volunteers. So the stuff I'm going to show you on the volunteers is from his writing. As I said earlier, the funeral home collection acquisition was started in January 10th, 2007 and completed in 2020. So 13 years is what he took to do it. After the death of McGowan, I said earlier, Don Payton, one of our historians here in Dallas, a local Dallas historian and a member of our group, he made a visit to McGowan and he asked for the records and received the records, wrote out a contract with the Dallas Public Library and got a truck and had all these boxes and boxes of records.
Wow.
Okay,
and the boxes that we see here, the gray boxes, is that the records or is that after you process it?
Those are after we processed them.
Okay.
They were just in cardboard boxes and all kinds of boxes. But I'll go through a little later what the process is of getting them from the documents that we received to getting them to what you see here. And then these manila folders are the actual final cataloging. But even that was put on sheets so it could be then digitized into a database, online database. So this is some of the volunteers that work in the library. That's what that is.
Well, we would like to thank those volunteers for working. Nurturing Our Roots would definitely like to say thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because this is very important history that you all have documented and preserved for genealogists, not only genealogists, but other scholars and researchers and filmmakers to tell our stories and our histories.
Yeah, and the important thing here is why I'm on the show is because we think it's just an example of how to do it. We think it's a blueprint on how to do it. Everybody's going to be a little different, but depending on what institution you're going in, if they have the resources to take on the materials, catalog them. The important part of the volunteers is, they have a backlog on these archives. If you can have volunteers, we had 20, sometimes 25, probably at the height, 30 volunteers working to get this done. And it still took 13 years. So your archives can sit in a library or sit somewhere for years and years and years if there's no priority or nobody to work on it.
And
But
too, let me just also say no fundings, because that's very important. If you don't have the fundings, you all had a team of volunteers. If that facility only was operating with one employee, it can take 40 years with
That's
one
right.
employee.
That's right. So
You know.
you saved the documents sometime, archive the documents, but it'll be 40 years before it comes to light.
Exactly.
Because once the library gets it, or whatever institution gets it, you're signing over to them that it's theirs. You can't go in and pull something out, pull something out unless that's in your contract. It's their they own it. The public owns it then.
That's right.
So quickly, the archiving process, once you have, like I said, a contract and somebody to take the archives, the boxes, the preservation steps, first is the drying out stage, acclimating to the climate of the facility. In this case, they sit in the basement of a library somewhere, and the climate has to acclimate. You culling all the junk out of it, the scraps, the metal and all that, paper clips and all that stuff. And then you put it in acid-free folders, just the documents in acid-free folders. Then the file management. So you have to have volunteers organized with the files. And the instructions were, first pull out the death certificate, pull out the funeral program. You're recording what all is in the folder, pull it all out. Insurance information, pictures, letters, correspondence between city, county, and the funeral home notes, military papers, lodge and Masonic records, newspaper articles, and wills were also in there. So you're telling everybody who's working on the project, these are the things you're looking for. You're going to have a check sheet, and you're going to check off what's in that particular file, and that's the data entry stage where you're checking off what's in there. But then we had a hiatus for a minute between the work because we needed computers to start putting it in. We had one laptop when we started this project, and Miss Ora Penn, who's also one of our great volunteers, was the only one there for years logging in, putting in this data. Then we got a bank of computers, and we were able to really speed that project up. Then
how many additional computers did you get?
We had 4 or 5, I believe.
Okay, that's speeded up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that sped it up because we had a lot of work to do. And then toward the end, we actually were able to go home, and everybody could log in and do it from home.
Oh, that was amazing.
The library made that happen for us. That was very important.
Yes.
You could go home and work on it full time at home. So you had to have access to the library system and to the data entry system to log it in at home. So then we had to come up with a system for numbering the folders and entering the information on data sheets. Okay.
I want to say, go back up to the lodge and the Masonic records. I never found any of that, and I'm still looking for those records here in Tangipahoa Ho and St. Helena parishes. So
I wish I could remember some of them. The Eastern Star, and there were some other ones that I'm not familiar with. I can't remember the name again. There were some really old ones that were in there. There was some. I'm telling you, I'm recalling now what all I saw, some of the things we saw in those files, but it was some incredible things in those files. Some people left pictures. Some people left because the obituary always had a picture, and it had the obituary of the family in there. So he would do that for every burial he did. So here are the boxes in this picture. And so once we got all of the information in the database, then we began to look at, okay, what is it we really have here? We said, we're not going to wait for researchers to come and go in these boxes and do it. We can do that ourselves. So we went through the boxes, culminated all the information we have. And this is let me show you the data that we came up with. What we found was in the records.
Wow. So
it was a total of 61 boxes, 5,565 burials.
Wow.
That's a lot. That's a lot
Yes.
of burials. Yeah. Yes. Each record is represented by a folder of documents with all the memorabilia included. Some of the folders contain rare items like photographs, military medals.
What a treasure.
Yeah, military discharge papers, lodge memberships, birth certificates, and personal letters of correspondence. And so those records are now available at the eighth floor, on the eighth floor of the J. Johnson Central Library in downtown Dallas.
This is amazing
Yeah.
work.
And so then we started doing analysis. Okay, let's look at all, since we have it in the database, let's look at these records from 1956 to 1995. What is the age of the people who are being buried?
Mm-hmm.
What we found that the median age was 59.
Mm.
And so we got all this from every death certificate. We got all that information. You see the median age is 59, and then you see
Yes.
these are buried over time. I think at age of death at the bottom, so you can see the total number of deaths
Yeah.
and what age people were. The thing that I'll get to later is that first big column there with the 752.
Mm-hmm.
Those are children. Those are infants and children.
Oh, 700. Okay, yes.
Yeah. But anyway, the median age was 59. So this tells you, for this period of time, for this part of the population of Dallas, what the median age of a person of African Americans were between 1956 and 1999. 59 years old. You know, if you took that curve today, I'm sure it goes to the right, but it just shows you how, the life expectancy of African Americans in that period of time was. And so it flashes, it just hits you like a ton of bricks what you're really looking at.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at people's
Mm-hmm.
life of people, you're looking at when they die, and we actually have, I'll show you later what they die from, and a lot of other information you can get from funeral home records.
I have one question for you. Did you have anyone that was specialized in creating these typographic charts here?
Yes, members of our group, we did it. The group did it, and
Okay.
so Don Henson was one who was very instrumental in doing it, and I was able to do a lot of it. If you know any statistics, this is how you get this data. You just
Mm-hmm.
plot. Uh-oh.
Am I in the right?
No, my screen went partially away. Let me get it back. Boy, what is happening?
That's okay. It's whenever we're doing something good, we always have these kind of things to happen, but we
Yeah.
move forward, right? Right. Because this is
Okay.
educational. Anybody
Wow.
that understands technology, we got it. Okay.
Yeah. It's back. It's back. So what is this doing this? Don't know what it is, but what is it, something that's coming in and giving me half of my screen?
Okay. So you can't see the screen.
Let me get it back. I can see it, but it's a half a screen.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm there now. So.
Oh, good.
All right.
Karen, this is some great information, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm looking at this infant mortality, that
Yeah.
first on that previous screen.
Yeah.
That kind of just shocked me.
When we were going through the records, it was really disturbing, Karen. The infant mortality, the members, especially some of the older women in the group, all the women in the group, when they would get to these obituaries, not obituaries, but the death certificates, all of these infant deaths. And we realized, this thing is really an indicator of the mortality rate for African Americans in that period of time.
Mm-hmm.
A large number of infant deaths they saw was very disturbing to the volunteers as they come through the records.
Because that was unexpected, I'm sure.
Well, you hadn't thought about it till we started doing the work, and then all of a sudden it just pops out at you that 12% of these burials are infants. 7% were 7% died at childbirth. 383 of the 5,600 died at childbirth. That's a high mortality.
Yes, it is.
Mortality rate, yeah. And so if you look at this curve, you'll see the burials by year,
mm-hmm.
and you see it goes up and then comes down because he's not getting as many burials toward the end. The funeral home is closing. But if you see the blue line, I wish we could make it bigger. If you see the little blue line under that, that's the infant deaths.
Yes.
The blue lines underneath the orange lines.
Mm-hmm.
So by year, you can see it trend up and then back down. And this was probably because he had more burials during that period of time. But, this is the kind of thing that has to be studied further to really see what's going on here. But this is the infant deaths in blue. and it's all the deaths in the orange bars.
Well, it's really good that you all have left a blueprint for further studies, because it's very important. You know, people think that genealogy is a hobby, but it's not. We're really doing some groundbreaking research here and making it available for further studies in so many areas. You know,
Yeah. And
certainly.
the frightening thing is that every day as we speak, funeral home records are being thrown away with all this information in them. And
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
And so we were able to look at the causes of death off of the death certificates. Number 1 cause of death, heart disease. Number 2, hypertension, stroke, cancer, diabetes, respiratory diseases. And so this was one area where we started studying, but it's going to take some experts to look into a lot of these.
Mhm.
Some of them had a primary, secondary, and tertiary cause of death. But this is one of the things where once you look at this closely, approximately 6,000 burials, that may be enough statistically to be able to say what the whole of Dallas, if this equals what was happening in Dallas or maybe in the state of Texas.
Mhm.
You can project what we saw in these 6,000 burials. Is it a good example of, the whole city and the whole state maybe of what people were dying from and the ages they were dying at and the infant mortality rate and
And
on
so
and on.
much can come out of this study here.
Yes,
It's so
yes,
much.
that's right. That's absolutely right. And so we actually started a study group, a writing group to study the
Mhm.
records. COVID came,
Mhm.
we didn't continue, but we had a writing group. As I mentioned, the article Mr. Kennedy wrote, and then I wrote an article on it. So just to study
Mhm.
the records, all the things we could study infant mortality from those records. We could study
Mhm.
causes of death from those records. I don't have all the data here, but we went through military records, and there was one person I think in the Spanish War and World War I, World War II, World War III.
And
On and
Alvin,
on.
I want to point out that the 6 major causes of death is still prevalent today.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's something to look at, because if each family, I know with debt records in my family, I was able to compare that to the number of people in my family who have heart disease or who have passed away from heart disease in our Harrell family or any other branch of the family. And
Mhm.
so really it tells us a lot, because it tells us what we need to do for preventive care. It
Yes.
tells a lot here.
Yeah. Not only that, there was trauma in there. That was
Yeah.
trauma. There was a lot of gunshot wounds, and there were
Mhm.
stabbings, and there were auto accidents, and all kinds of things. So, uh, and there were centenarians. 11 individuals lived to be over 100 years of age.
That's
Mhm.
amazing.
Four of these individuals were born during slavery.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, James Hardiman was born in 1856 and died in 1959. John Wesley Simpson was born in 1858 and died in 1960 at 102. Emma Williams was born in 1860 and died in 1866 at 106.
Yeah.
Minnie Renee Scoggins was born July 6, 1864 and died December 12, 1964 at 100. The oldest person in the collection was Miss Emma Wynn, who was 118 years old. She was born in LaGrange, Texas in 1875 and died in Dallas in 1994. So when you look at the database, you can just search for age and
Mhm.
what year they were born and pull all of these statistics right out of the database. Once you've cataloged everything, you can see where they were from, where they were buried. I don't have a chart here, but it shows what funeral home McGowan Funeral Home was processing, doing the processing of the body, embalming of the body. But the burials were mostly at Lincoln here in Dallas and other places. But sometimes they were sent, out of state. To their home state and somewhere else in Texas or
Mhm.
Louisiana. They could have been sent to California, anywhere. So
Mhm.
all that's part of the record also, the burial places, where they were buried, how many were transported to other places.
Wow. Mhm.
So we created the McGowan Funeral Home Search Tool. The search tool is from the obituaries. So the search tool will show you, uh, it's an online search tool. The database is now available at dallasgenealogy.com. The address I have here, it contains the detailed information from each person's death certificate, along with the number of the box and the folder where the physical record is located. So if you know a person's name, you can search and say, okay, they do have a folder here. You go to the library, you pull the folder, make an appointment, pull the folder and go in and see if what's in there. Go in and see if there's a newspaper article or did they leave a medal, or if they leave her. Now it's the property of the library now, but you can go in and make copies of it and find information about people that I'm sure nobody, if you're not doing the work, if you're not keeping up with who your parents, grandparents, great grandparents are, I'm sure that's tons of people who this is going to be valuable to in the future.
Yes, especially with 6,000 records, folders,
Yeah. And so here are the links to all the documents I've talked about. You can really just go and search on the Dallas Genealogical Society, and these links will come up. But the second one here, the searchable database, is what you go to search the database by name, by age, by whatever you want to search by through the 6,000 records.
Now, that's the thing that's going to be so important to people, is that it's searchable. It's not something you just got to go browse through to find it, but you could actually target and search it.
Yes. It's like anything else. If you have if you're not sure who your relative is, who your parents or uncles or cousins are, you go and search for their name, and you search through that, and you're going to find if they have a record there in the library. You can go there and you can see their obituary. You can see their sometimes they have they all have a funeral program that many people didn't keep, but now McGowan kept every single one of those in that folder. He kept
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing, because I really want to show you all the difference here. If you all can keep talking, I want to show you the difference as to what Southeastern has done. And let me just say this too, that we have not found any folders. And if so, if there was some folders, I didn't get those. I only was able to get, all right, here it is.
Yeah, see, every funeral home is different.
Well, different. Right.
Some of them don't keep this stuff. Some of them may throw it out right away, immediately. After the person, so many months or a year after they're dead. But these records have been in there since 1956 in that funeral home.
Now, what we did here, Alvin, I took the time and put them in alphabetical order and made an index of each person. And what I made an index of the date that person was born, when they died. And as you can see, we go along all through the years, 1914 here, 1906. But we just didn't do it as extensive. And that means that if someone really wanted to see the true document, they would have to go to Southeastern to see it. But at the East Baton Rouge Parish Library, they scanned the complete document, that funeral program, and they put it online. If we look at number 61 right here with Lula Broomfield, 1896. So you just gave me an idea what to do with some of the new collection that I'll be picking up tomorrow. So thank you for giving me some pointers on what to look for, what to do, and how important these funeral programs are. And let me just mention this to you. Yes, a lot of funeral homes just really destroy these records. They do not hold on to them. I think I was told that some funeral homes, Alvin, may hold on to them for a year or two. And it depends on the secretary. It depends on the space. Number one, that's what I hear with a lot of people, space. And the second thing, they don't have the professional equipment and they don't know anything about that. But your group have done an extensive, important job. I mean, look at the years it took to finish this. This is it took me 1 year just to do what I was doing, just putting them in alphabetical order and then building that database and then getting it over to Southeastern. It's a labor of love, really.
It is. We had so many great volunteers on the project, and again, 13 years. Probably averaged, probably averaged 10 to 20 volunteers. You had to sign in with the library, get you an ID card, You could park free if you were a volunteer. Go into the files, sign in, pull the files you were going to work on that day, work on that day, and times 20 people over 13 years. That's the process. Just grinding it out, going through it. But we knew the importance of it. And when we got to the end, we began to see there was some notes taken about, okay, this person this person was fought in the Spanish War. That person should be researched further, and somebody should write an article on them. Those kind of things. And we still need to go back through the files to look at, what's there in terms of memorabilia, what was left. There were letters in there. All kind of important things were in there.
That's amazing. That's just a labor of love. I can't tell you, and I know among everything else that you all was doing and had to do with jobs, and I know some people could have been retired, but still that is a commitment. That's a big commitment to do something such as that. I know it's been one of the things I want to tell you before I forget. What I did receive from Richardson's Funeral Home was a collection of books. So while you and Karen sort of dialogue, give me enough minute of time to pull what these books look like. And it was a volume of books. And inside those books, it was information that you would have found on a death certificate, simply because at one time, you can go to the Vital Records office and you can request a copy of uncle or great uncle, but now it has to be that person's direct descendant.
Yes.
And so this information is very valuable, especially when you're talking about opening up successions and dealing with legal matters. These records are very important.
Absolutely.
So while y'all talk a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and pull that up and show you.
So what I'll tell you, Karen, is what we started. Like I said, we started a group to start to go into these records, to write about some of the important findings inside of it. Mr. Kennedy, who I mentioned earlier, who wrote the article on volunteers, he wrote an article on 4 veterans. He researched the lives of 4 veterans who were in these files and wrote a biography on them. So we had a writing group where we were going to go in, somebody cover, the suggestion was somebody cover the causes of death, somebody look at infant mortality, somebody write on all of these items. So it's a little community inside the funeral home records itself. The one thing that we got to do a better job of, we need to do a better job of, is advertising that this collection is available so people can start looking for it. And so people don't know it's there. They don't know where to look. I wish you could Google a person's name and say, hey, they have a record at the library, but that doesn't exist. So part of our job is, once the work is done, to make it available, make it known on shows like this, Anthony, shows like this, people can be aware that, hey, there are people listening who are going to be from Dallas. I may want to go and look at that folder and see if my family's in there. Look at those files and see if my family's in there. But we have to make people aware. We have to spread the word and make people aware of what's available.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this is the books, as you can see, those books there. It's a volume of 6 books. And I think each book probably had about 200 individuals recorded in that book. Everyone that died within that year was recorded in that book. Wow. And I found quite a few of my family members, although Richardson's Funeral Home is my family members, but I found some family members on all branches of my tree. And so it just didn't cover Tangipahoa Parish or St. Helena. It was New Orleans, and that's the thing about a funeral home. Whoever picked that body up and whoever they want to pick that body up, they will pick that body up, and that's what a funeral would be. So what I did, Alvin, because I'm always thinking about what we are experiencing here right now in Louisiana. We're experiencing a lot of tornadoes, something that we hadn't experienced that much in the past. So I thought about what happens if a tornado should come and just destroy a lot of information. Digitally is where I wanted to go. I wanted to do as much digitally as I could. And so I decided to blog and post some of these funeral programs any way that I can. I'd rather be able to save 40% than to lose 100% of
Yes.
documents and photographs of that information, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yes, it does. It does. Yeah, I mean, we all had people in New Orleans who lost all the photos and lost all of the stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, but again, we've got to make sure that people, it's there in the archives, and we got to make sure that people have some be able to create some interest. So another thing we thought about doing was having an exhibit at the library where we show some of the memorabilia that's in there.
That would be nice.
Inside the program, some of the very important stuff. I remember I was looking at one of the files, and the Hall of Famer Ernie Banks, his brother, I think, was being buried in Dallas, and I had a personal letter from Ernie Banks thanking McGowan for the work they did on his brother's arrangements for his brother's burial. A personal
Mm-hmm,
letter. That's a
mm-hmm.
that's a historical letter from a baseball Ernie Banks from the Chicago Cubs, a baseball Hall
Yes.
of Famer, had a letter inside the funeral folder of his brother who McGowan buried, and that's just an example of the kind of stuff that's in there.
Wonderful. We have Connie Green saying he is surely telling the truth. A well-known Black funeral home threw the records out and told me to go to Vital Records.
Wow.
Chris Jackson is saying, glad to see you all back live, Karen. So, yes, we're back. Look, I just want to say to everybody, we had the 2 years of COVID, and we couldn't get around. But when we was able to move around, we just want to say to everyone, we took that time to still visit different places that we could not visit. So we're glad to be back as well. And so we would like for you to invite your friends, invite your friends to come join us and spread the word that Nurturing Our Roots is back. If you would like to be a guest to share some of your information. And Alvin, we certainly would like to have you to come back on just to talk about your blog. I mean, because your blog is so extensive, and you cover so much about Woodville, Mississippi. That's a topic all by itself.
It is, and I'm going to take you up on that because again, New Orleans, the whole area of Louisiana is where a lot of my folk migrated to. But my blog is covering family oral history, documenting family oral history of some of my family members I talked to in 1998. They were 95 years old, or in 2000 they were 100. They remembered their grandparents. So my latest blog is talking about my great great grandmother, what my older uncles and cousins remembered about my grandmother, who was born in 1815,
Wow.
sold away from her two daughters in Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, brought into Woodville in about 1850, and lived to be 110 years old, right there in Woodville, in Edgefield Plantation in Woodville. So what I'm interested in doing is, like these funeral home records, I'm interested in getting oral history written, recorded, and to show the significance of
Mm-hmm.
oral history. If we don't have it and we remember some fragments of it, write down what you remember. But fortunately, I was fortunate enough to sit down for 2 or 3 hours and tape 100-year-old relatives who remembered their great grandparents. So I'm documenting history back to 1815 and before. So it's the same thing with any kind of archive, any kind of records. Write it down, get it down. There's still people around who remember things.
That's right.
I mean, they remember. But you know what? I find them all the time. They read my blog. They don't have anybody to even tell it to. They don't think anybody's interested. They know
Mm-hmm.
things. People know things. That information has not been lost. We passed that information down because we wanted our descendants to know it. And some of them know it. We got to find them, and we've got to interview them. We just have to have the right questions for them, and we got to know the history ourselves. And that was the importance of me documenting the family back to 1776, one of the branches of my family, because now I know who all the branches are. I know who married who, all the way back. And so whenever I hear a name, or in fact, the tapes I had in 1998, I didn't know who my cousin was talking about. He's 95 years old. He's telling me all this stuff. I didn't know. I had to go and take years of research to come back and find out who he was really talking about. And now I know.
I have a question. Are you planning on writing a book? I know you have a lot of great blog posts on your site. Are you going to turn this into a book, or, any plans?
I probably will, but right now I'm just enjoying telling my cousins, and I have a lot of cousins who contacted me, who their great grandparents were, where they came from, and they're reading it. A book is excellent document, but a blog also is alive. You're getting
That's right.
feedback, you're getting comments. I really enjoy the comments and the feedback from the blog. So I'm trying to get it documented, and I'm giving it to them. Everything I have, I'm writing it down. I'm sharing it. That's what I'm doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I like what you just said. A blog is a way to get a lot of information out there. I'm very happy to say that January the 1st, I always watch my numbers on my blog, and I reach over 440,000 people. So
Wow.
I'm very happy to say that because of the blog, it's attracting a lot of national attention to a lot of undocumented stories here in the Louisiana, Florida parishes.
That's right.
But can I just go into a quick break? I want to make some announcements. We're going to come back and finish talking to you, Alvin, about some things that you're doing. But I want to get this in because this is very important. Matter of fact, I just want to say I am so proud of all of my colleagues, my cousin Karen, Alvin. I'm just so proud of all the work that you all are doing. I mean, you're doing groundbreaking work and you're telling your stories. You're not waiting for somebody else to tell your story. Well, Leonard Smith, his documentary will be screened. I think that's in Flint. Yes, it is. Flint. I can't see that. Can you all?
Michigan, Flint, Michigan.
Mm.
And is that the Institute of Arts? Yes, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just put it where I can see that. All right. Yes. January the 12th. And his documentary has been featured on PBS several times.
Mhm.
And so let's talk about what Bernice is doing, because like you said, we have to use these platforms to talk about what's going on. And Karen, can you pull up what Kathy Hambrick is talking about? Give her a shout out on what she's doing for the upcoming Black History Month. And we want to say that Bernice will be presenting at the Louisiana State Archives on February the 8th. And I'm so happy she'll be talking about the Black Homesteaders, her new book. And
Yes,
that's
I have
from
two. I have 2 articles in that book on 2 of my family members.
Yes, I have 3 articles in that book, and I'm
That's right.
very happy. So let's give our own self a hand. All right.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
That's right. And so we just want to say, hey, Bernice, we're so proud of you and thank you for doing this. And we look forward to coming to hear you speak about your new book. And thank you, Alvin, for your contributions. And so I just had to say that I know Kathy is doing something.
Well, I'm looking for Kathy's, but while I'm looking for that, I want to just let you know that I went out to Plaquemine Parish last week, and I visited the Dorothy Thomas Stone, the Forgotten People African American History Museum. It's the history of African American people in Plaquemines Parish.
Wonderful.
And that's by it's created by Reverend Tyrone Edwards. He also has a book about the forgotten people of Plaquemines Parish. And so here, the River Road African American Museum, this is posted. They have a Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, January 16th.
Can you share the flyer, or do you need me to bring it in?
You know what? I haven't figured out how to do the sharing stuff yet.
That's okay. I can pull it up.
But it's on their Facebook page. And that's
I'll
at
pull it up.
51. Look like 51.
I know. Let me pull it up for you.
Yeah, pull it up. But it's a day of service, and it's going to be on William Street in Donaldsonville.
Okay, I thought I had it, but give me a minute.
Yeah, I don't know if they meant to put 5111 or 51 and 2 L's. But it's William Street in Donaldsonville, 10 a.m. January 16th.
All right, I finally got it, Karen. So here it is. Yes. So I just want to say to everyone that is doing this work, you all are really, you're making your ancestors just dance. Because as we think about, we just passed January the 1st, and we're giving back. We're giving our contributions in our time. And that's what we're supposed to do, because they was denied the privilege of being able to read and write and research and all those things. And so that's saying to us that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing in our time. In our time.
Absolutely.
And so there's so much going on. I do want to share something else. I know you all saw the movie Emancipation. Have anybody seen it yet?
I've seen it yet.
I haven't seen it, but I'm gonna see it.
Okay, you haven't seen it. Well, I had the opportunity to meet Peter Jackson. Well, they have Peter Gordon, but his fourth great granddaughter told me it was Peter Jackson. I had the opportunity to interview her. And I was just, I can't tell you all how excited I was. She shared a lot of photographs with me. I mean, I just had a wonderful time. And this is his fourth great granddaughter. And
Mm.
she was discussing the history with me of her family. And as I looked at her, I can see a lot of the resemblance of her with her family. But what I'm going to do is just take out a picture. But I had the opportunity. Let me stop sharing. I had the opportunity to meet her. Let me just bring up the picture. So I did that right before the movie premiered, so aired, should I say. But that was something in itself. Okay,
Yes.
here it is. All right. That is the fourth great granddaughter. And so she was sharing with me some of the other photographs and documents, and she did let me know that his name was Peter Jackson and not Gordon, but she went on to say he was on a garden plantation and that kind of stuff. So
Right.
she did tell me that she would like to come on Nurturing Our Roots and be a guest to talk about her family history and how they was able to connect, to connect through just a simple blog that we wrote, just a simple newspaper that I partner with, the Drum newspaper. And so I'm able to get articles out now through the Drum. So it's certainly good to know that Nurturing Our Roots and the Drum newspaper, which is good, because now we got another venue and the newspapers are dying, but we're talking about the online version of the newspaper. So I just had to share that with you.
And so let me share this, Antoinette and Karen. The information we're giving out tonight is for people to understand that they have the power to go to their funeral home, their families or their grandmother's funeral home, and find out about these records. This is not something that we're doing. This is something that everybody has to do to want to know. Just like we don't have time to talk about cemeteries, but that's another awareness that people are coming aware to. Well, where's your great grandmother buried? Well, I've never thought about it. Where's your great grandmother buried? I've never thought. Where's your grandmother buried? And so this is tied also into the project of going back and reclaiming our cemeteries. And so those funeral home records, individuals can go to those funeral homes where your grandparents, back in the country, wherever they are, find out where the records are and save the records yourself. Individuals can do that, and then get with somebody who can tell them where the records can go. Just have the conversation. That's what this program is about. Just awareness of what's in the funeral home records. If you didn't know, now you know some of it. What's in the records and what can be done to save the records before they're all lost or destroyed.
All right. Well, Alvin, you have been a very informative guest. We can always listen to you. You always have great information to share. We thank you for sharing that information with us, just like you share it freely with your family members. And thank you. You are a wealth of knowledge. You are a splendid writer. And you just offer so much. And we are grateful for your presence on this earth. Believe me, your legacy is huge. Believe me, it is. So once again, we thank you for being a guest, and I'm going to turn it over to my co-host and let her close us out for this segment of Nurturing Our Roots with Antoinette and Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin, and thank you to everyone who joined us in the chat rooms. If you haven't already subscribed to Nurturing Our Roots on YouTube, on Facebook. Are we on Instagram, Antoinette? On all of the platforms. Please make sure you subscribe to us, and you'll see us every second Tuesday of the month. And we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Unless, wait, I want to say this too, Karen. Unless there's a special edition that we must do to bring something to you, and we can't wait. And we hope that Alvin consider being a guest in the future again.
Anytime.
So
I will
keep an
take
eye
any-
on our YouTube channel to see what else might pops up.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.